Long considered the staid, buttoned-down cousin of leisure travel, the corporate sector is reinventing itself amid the disruptive influence of new entrants, new technologies, and rising traveler expectations. Here to look into all of that, please join me in welcoming Mr. Greg O'Hara, the Chairman and CEO of Certares and Chairman of the Board of American Express Global Business Travel.
Thanks.
Thank you, Greg. Great to see you out here.
Nice to be seen.
I'm going to start with the investor hat, because we were just talking backstage about you see pitches all day. We ran a kind of a pitch event over the last couple of days, our Battleground and our Travel Innovation Summit. We had about 60 companies that presented, many of them early stage startups,
Sure.
Some in the emerging category. So we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience. How does a company get your attention?
So I think most of the people that we talk to, including most of the people here, you feel like are a lot smarter than you when they talk to you. They're passionate about what they do, and they've invested a lot of time and energy in what they're doing, their ideas, and how they do it. But to get attention from someone, I think you have to understand what the person is looking for. So in my case, not in every case, we own a bunch of platform companies. And so American Express Global Business Travel, we own Travel Leaders, we have an insurance company, we have all kinds of different things. And so mostly what we're looking for is how our money that we invest in these smaller companies can invigorate them in a way that they might not expect. So in other words, we want to take a small saint, one that you've never heard of, and make him a big saint. Let's go St. Patrick, if you will.
Okay.
And so what we're looking for are companies that we can apply their technology and their ideas to the giant amount of revenue that the companies that we own generate. So for instance, American Express, Global Business Travel, will do more than $30 billion in sales this year. And it's very easy to take a small company. If you have just a small portion of that, they're awfully successful awfully quickly. So that's what we're looking for in general.
And so they're accretive to your platform too, right? So you're looking for a benefit to your platform and something where you could have them create a monetization around your platform.
Yeah, so if it could be the platform company, so it could be accretive to GBT or Travel Leaders or a visa processor or whoever it is. But what we're really looking for is for the money, by the money. So for instance, we're not asking the company to change their revenue model. We're not asking the company to charge us less. We're not asking any of those companies to do that. Because a lot of times the multiple that these small companies trade at is a lot higher than the multiple of the companies that we own. So we're happy with them being their own people. We're happy with them prosecuting their own agenda. What we're really looking for is, it's nice if we get the accretion. Don't let me, we're not going to turn it down. But I think at the end of the day, what we're really looking for is how does that investment that we make and the relationship that it can have with some of our platform company change the way that company can do business and make it more profitable. I think probably some of the small companies here have heard over and over again, how are you going to make money?
Yeah.
Right? And so we're very focused on, here's how you can make money. If we do this with you, you can make money. Also, a lot of the times when you have a big company, it allows where you have a big client or company that you have a relationship with, it focuses the time and attention of that company on that client. So what ends up happening is the client, the company becomes very, very good, very, very quickly at the things that the larger company is asking it to do.
No, and having been through the halls of American Express in past lives a couple of times, you guys are clearly a market maker. You know.
Yeah.
All right, so
today we're doing a great job.
All right, so let's flip the bit. Let's put your travel management hat on.
Okay.
You're a travel manager. You're sitting out there. Someone approaches you with the concept of open booking.
Yes.
It's been around for a couple of years. Concur, a big proponent. They talk about it now on their analyst calls about how much growth is there. So, in your opinion, first, do you think this is a symptom, or do you think it's a cause?
So, I didn't know they talked about it on their analyst calls, but we don't see it at all at American Express Global Business Travel.
And you are a supporter of American. I mean, you have customers with Concur as the.
We have customers that have Concur as an expense tool, customers that have Concur as its online booking tool, but we're not seeing any open booking traction at all. In fact, I don't know if we have any customers using open booking. And the reason isn't a technology issue. So whether it's open booking or any other concept, the reason is one of practical economics. So for instance, if you go and book a flight on United Airlines, and then that flight somehow needs to be rebooked or needs to be handled. About 30% of all bookings made in the online channel have to be handled by an agent eventually. No fault of Concur, no fault of anyone else, but we have to handle those bookings. And so if we make the bookings, we feel like we can invest in handling those bookings, whether it be employee handling or whoever it is. If we don't make the booking, if the booking is made on United Airlines, and then the booking is transferred to us as a result of this open booking, we're not interested in handling that call.
Well, yeah, you're at a disadvantage from a financial perspective because you're not financially motivated to get involved.
Correct, but worse is if there's a snowstorm, let's say, and all the open bookings that have been made need to be handled, right? We have thousands of people that we've invested in their livelihood and training all over the world that can handle that. And so it's very difficult, for instance, for United Airlines or anybody else to start handling call volumes that are way above expected norm. Whereas we move those around the world. We're currently rolling out at GBT an IP telephony system. So you know that annoying IVR that you get where you have to hit buttons and do all that stuff? In about a year from now, when you call American Express GBT, it'll pick up your cell phone from whatever you're calling. It'll know who you are, and it'll route your call exactly to the right place. And we'll be the only TMC with that kind of technology as we roll it out. Sounds like a simple thing, but connecting the 18,000 people we have with their customers is hard to do.
Okay. All right. Now you're a former GDS guy, so I want to talk a little bit about content. Content outside the GDS. Mm-hmm. Travel managers are challenged with how do we get that into the program? How do we manage that? And I'm sure they leave that problem on your doorstep.
Yeah, I think so. So content outside the GDS. First of all, I'm not invested in any GDSs anymore. I don't own any. We're a customer of some, probably all the GDSs. But what we don't understand is we get that if you have an $80 a night hotel, which is unbranded in Mogadishu, right? You might not be
can't afford to be in the GDS.
You may not be able to afford to be in the GDS. But our average ADRs are 50% higher, I'm making up a number, are 50% higher than other people's ADRs. When we're delivering that kind of value from our customers to higher end hotels, we find that most of the time the content is in the GDS. And for those of you who work at suppliers, we encourage you to keep working with the GDSs because it makes it easier for us to be able to make those bookings, especially those high value bookings.
In the high yield climb. Mm-hmm. All right, another somewhat controversial move, Lufthansa with their booking fee. Mm-hmm. That again strains you because someone's going to pay more money, or they're going to take their content and go elsewhere.
Sure.
So what's the answer? Again, your travel manager's asking you, what are you going to do for?
I think our clients have universally told us they're not interested in going through a portal. So whether we would do it or not, that's an economic issue. But I will tell you that the people at our largest clients, I probably shouldn't say who they are, but our people at our largest clients have told us that they are not interested in having us or anybody else book through that portal. It's very interesting. So, we have a couple minutes. So what's interesting is, let's say Lufthansa does that and all the other airlines do that too. Everybody has a portal and everybody makes you book through the portal. Well, then how do I shop those people? So for instance, if you want to fly from Auckland to Sydney, does Lufthansa expect to be shopped on Auckland to Sydney? Do they want to see a result that says Auckland, Frankfurt, Sydney? Is that reasonable to expect? And what are the rules around how I might shop that request? So what's interesting is really, if Lufthansa's idea catches on, all they're really asking is for each major TMC and each major travel distributor to build a GDS. We think at American Express GBT that is absolutely fantastic. We would love that to be the case because we are the only ones who could afford to build a GDS, and they will turn us into a giant global monopoly. They will turn us into the only people who can process a corporate travel booking. And then they will learn how to pay if that's what they do.
So you'll flip that bit pretty quick. All right, how about another industry issue? This open skies fight that we're having today. You got the three big airlines, not wanting to necessarily compete with the Gulf guys. What's your take?
So, there's a lot of rhetoric around whether these so-called illegal subsidies are actually, first of all, they're not illegal in my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, but they're not illegal. I think the discourse should be around the foreign carrier ownership rules in the United States. So if I were the king of Spain or the king of wherever, and I got to decide, what I would do is say, listen, the foreign carrier restrictions exist for a lot of good reasons, but they don't exist to create shareholder value. So if I'm a stockholder of one of those companies, I buy one of those airline stocks because, right, I expect to be able to make money off that airline stock through dividends or capital appreciation. And I understand that anyone can only buy 24.9% of the airline. What's interesting about that is if I have a foreign carrier ownership restriction, right? If I have that, I should have that marketplace protected because it inhibits my ability to do business. So what I would advocate is either the government should protect the marketplace, so it should protect it and keep the foreign carrier ownership restrictions in the world, or if the Gulf carriers want to come in and buy Delta Airlines for a giant premium, they should be allowed. One or the other, but you can't have both.
Okay. All right, let's talk online and offline. So our research, Phocuswright, tell us that millennials, younger travelers, which are now, 50% of the workforce and growing, they're inclined to self-serve, more inclined to search, shop, and buy using their mobile phones. So is offline becoming a niche business? Will it be impacted by this millennial group? And do you need to adapt to a demographic?
Can I say offline's becoming a niche business so no one else puts capital into it? Because I'd like that.
Okay.
No, so the offline business is interesting. So, I think it's fair to say American Express GBT has doubled profitability in the year we've owned it. Doesn't sound like, Priceline, Expedia, TripAdvisor are great businesses, but I don't see them doubling profitability in 1 year like we've done.
And how'd you do that? So
I think a variety of reasons. We sold more. We lowered our costs. We started focusing on the business better. American Express, this was a non-core business,
right.
So they didn't focus on it the way we do. And every day we go to work trying to be the best global TMC we can be. And I think at American Express, they went to work every day trying to be the best credit card company they could be. But back to the question, I think that the online-offline argument is really interesting. I think that having an online, there's a lot of people that want to be market entrants into our space, but I don't think it's a great idea for Expedia, Priceline, TripAdvisor to go hire 18,000 people in 140 countries so they can answer the phone in all these different languages. That's hard to do.
This is your call center advantage.
It's not just call centers. Most of the people actually who work for us work from their homes,
okay.
Right?
So
and they've got
your agent advantage.
Incredible quality of life benefits from working from their homes. I think that's not interesting to them. I think they have a lot better ways to earn money than hiring all those people to answer the phone.
Let's take that conversation a little further because they're all getting into the business travel part,
yeah.
Right? I mean, Expedia's been in it for a while with Agencia. They just bought Orbitz. They'll fold Orbitz for business in. Booking is having booking for business.
Absolutely.
Even Airbnb. Everybody sees the yield. Everybody sees that client. If that's the case, where do you think they end up?
So I don't think they provide managed travel services. I think being in the business travel business is great as long as nothing goes wrong. As long as nobody changes their schedule, as long as no one wants to extend their stay, as long as there's no snowstorm, as long as nothing goes wrong. I think the two things that they're not focused on, for the most part, I haven't seen a large corporation like IBM or McKinsey, who thank God are our clients. I haven't seen them send a lot of people to Airbnb or through Priceline for Business or Agencia. And I don't think those customers are well suited to deal with those people. I think there's a lot of mid-market opportunity, and you're going to see us invest hundreds of millions of dollars in specific technology over the next little while so that we can take the advantage that we have, which is all these people who know how to process your booking, and we can marry that with technology.
Okay, so that leads to what I think is you guys have had a tremendous opportunity. You have a real nice small business offering that I think crushes it, and you also do the same thing with the travel leaders on the corporate side, right? That's a core part of their business. As these guys get in there with their global brands, these monster brands, do you think that's a competitive challenge for you?
We think everybody's a competitive challenge. Like every day we go.
So it's not like you're ignoring these guys.
Yeah, like and a lot of people you don't know me, but I've got a tremendous inferiority complex. Like every day I think,
who's out to get
Dara or Darren is about to steal all my business. So we go and we work as hard as we can. I would tell you that they're going to get into it. They've got global brands, but it's hard to become a ticketing entity in all these different countries. It's hard to meet the licensure requirements. It's hard to do a lot of that stuff, and they just have better things to do. Like, isn't it just better for Priceline or Expedia to go sell a couple more $1 billion worth of hotels than try to service IBM in Nigeria for offshore oil rigs or offshore oil rigs? It's difficult to do.
All right, so who's your competitor going forward? Fast forward, I mean, you know who your competitor is today, I think. Doesn't sound like you think the OTAs will be your competitor anytime soon.
Oh, no, I think they're competitors. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I just think there are elements of our business that they don't want to do, right?
So it comes down to the traditional, the Carlson Wagon Lee, the BCD, the HRGs.
Yeah, I think those guys are going to be competitors. A lot of small regional people are doing very, very well. Yep. I think we're going to see Asian TMCs come up. Like, you haven't had the consolidation in China that you see in other places. And I think there's going to be a lot of reporting requirements, like homogenous reporting requirements all over the world. They're going to drive different services from different people. I think in the same way you saw the GDSs proliferate all over the place, you'll see TMC consolidation over the next little while. You'll have a lot of people who are interested in allowing themselves or affording themselves the opportunity to take pieces of our business. So, for instance, would I go out and buy a black car limousine company in New York City right now? Probably not, right? Because we're prepared to kind of cede that market to Uber. Whether or not you're a corporation or not, whether or not that's within policy or not, it probably will be, right? Because we don't have duty of care issues, for instance, with Uber, where we do. We have a legal obligation to tell your company where you are all the time. By the way, not the missus, just your company. but we'll tell you where you are all the time. And so I think, and there are different rules in different countries that we have to play by. And we have to make sure we don't violate OFAC or foreign corrupt practices. Like, for instance, if you make a booking on Airbnb, and let's say they also do your air in the future, because let's face it, they'll eventually do that, right? How are they gonna, and you get a visa, right? How is Airbnb gonna guarantee your company that there wasn't a facilitation payment made to get your visa? They're not going to be able, they're not going to do that, right? They're not going to do all the things that are hard. They're going to do all the things that are easy. So on a competition basis, what we're really looking for is not somebody who's going to pick off our whole business, but who's going to pick off the more profitable elements of it to make our business less profitable.
Easier, the stuff that they might be able to do.
Things that are easy.
All right, so now you got this huge complexity that you described. The challenge I always find on the corporate side, having been involved in it for many years, was the innovation, the pace of innovation is not as fast because of some of that complexity. I always have to worry about the duty of care. So don't show me an Airbnb, because then I'll lose track of this guy.
Right.
How do you stay? Because the consumer world, so they're coming back to the millennials looking out there saying, hey, I can get this done really easy. How come when I go to my corporate environment, it's not as easy?
So
how do you deal with that?
That's a great point. We rolled out, this doesn't sound like a big deal, but we rolled out a giant expense and procurement system called Coupa this year. Coupa, C-U-O-U-P-A.
Yep.
And we're probably their largest client. They had never done an implementation this big, and it's supposed to take years, right? We did it in 9 months. And it was funny, when I met with the CEO and we sat down and talked about his company, one of the things he said was really interesting. And one of the reasons that the pace of change is slow is because of all the training involved. It's hard to get 18,000 people to do anything new, much less 18,000 traditional travel agents to do something new. And he made a point to me that really resounded, and still today, we challenge all of our technical teams for this. Your home procurement system, Amazon.com, you've had no training on whatsoever, yet you use it fluently and fluidly every day. So why should I have to do a bunch of training on your work procurement system? Because the thing that slows us down in implementing systems is rolling it out to the 18,000 or 44,000, or depending on which company I'm talking about, employees to do something new. If I didn't have to do that, I could massively speed up the change of technological innovation. So we're challenging all of our technical teams, all of our salespeople, all of the design people, all the strategy people to come up with ideas where we don't have to slow things down and train our employees on doing it. So there's one of the cool things about Priceline or Expedia or Airbnb, no one trained you on how to use it. Nobody came to your house and sat down and had a class that by the time the technology got rolled out, you forgot the class and you had to retake the class. No one did any of that stuff.
Looks like a former pal of yours is out there.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah, sorry.
How are you, Greg?
Yeah, I'm good. So you talked about consolidation and kind of where you're headed with that. And let's call it you're just short of $1 billion in cash. Does that feel like consolidation? Does that feel like tech innovation? Where are you thinking about spending some of that money?
So probably more than $1 billion in cash now at that company. Greg's referring to American Express GBT that has $1 billion change on its balance sheet. Travel Leaders by the end of the year will have $300 to $500 million on its balance sheet. We like being in that position. So first of all, in consolidation, you know, our traditional competitors are heavily levered, right? So CWT has a lot of debt, BCD's got a lot of debt, HRG has a capital structure that makes it difficult for them to acquire anything. So we feel like we need to make hay while the sun shines. You know, we feel like we're the bid on anything that's interesting that's for sale in our space. What's interesting about that is if you looked at Expedia, you know, they just spent $3 billion and change on HomeAway, right? There isn't a traditional travel agency out there that someone might spend $3 billion and change on. So they're going to be after much bigger fish than what we're after. I'm not saying they won't make small strategic acquisitions, because basically everyone at Expedia is smarter than everyone at American Express. But what I would say is you're going to find situations where we're going to be the bid. Remember that $1 billion levers to about $3 or $4 billion. So after synergy, so we think we're going to be buying a flurry of things all over the world. We're in talks. If some of you are here, we're in talks with everyone we can think of being in talks with in order to acquire them. On the technological side, we're spending money on really simple blocking and tackling things that we think our customers want. I mentioned IP telephony, right? We're also investing in customer records. We're investing in being able to take, log 2 credit cards, so we can take your personal credit card or your business credit card rather than always charging the same thing. These are really simple, rudimentary things that we can do.
Gregory, we've got another question from the floor.
Oh, sorry.
You made the comment about Uber. Are you seeing the use case for Uber expanding within your client base, potentially going into areas where the car rental companies might have traditionally dominated?
Sure. Forget my client base. Uber is expanding in my house, right? Like if you live in New York City, one of the ultimate ways of tracking your kids is giving them an Uber account so you know where they started and where they ended, because you get an email at the end of the day. So I think Uber is a fantastic company. I think our customers are going to use it more. Are there going to be some innovative things where somebody in this audience goes out and buys 3 of the black car providers in New York City and just turns them all into Uber drivers? Probably. It's probably a better return on capital than what they're doing today. But listen, anecdotally, we have no way of tracking that because people aren't booking an Uber through us. But I can tell you, if I give you a mother-in-law sample size poll of 1, right here, I can tell you that I think everybody's using Uber. I think it's a fantastic service. The one thing I would like to see is hack licenses in New York City are really expensive. So some poor taxi driver who went out and spent $200,000
Tough
on a hack license, that playing field needs to be leveled. So, and I'll speak, I'm not like an advocate for the taxi man in the world, but if you spend a couple $100,000 of your hard-earned money to buy a taxi license, and the guy beside you doesn't have to buy a taxi license, either both of you should have to buy a taxi license, or neither of you should have to buy a taxi license.
All right, I'm going to do real quick, hit and run, because we got to go. We got less than a minute. All right, Beatles or Stones?
Stones.
Ski, swim, or gamble?
Ski.
Have you ever seen the movie Bikini Girls versus Dinosaurs?
I haven't seen a movie with the word bikini in it.
I have. It's actually very good. All right. Give me one travel company you admire.
Expedia.
Okay. If you had a very difficult business decision to make, you could only make one phone call, who gets that call?
Sandy Weil.
Sandy Wild. All right. Last question. 3 dinner guests, any era. Alive, gone, 3 dinner guests.
Jim Morrison. Didn't want. Might not get to dinner.
I should have added the Doors to that.
Doors, yeah. Bill Gates.
Okay.
Larry Page.
Larry Page. Excellent. Thank you, sir. Greg O'Hara, ladies and gentlemen, give him a hand.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Great job.
Thank you very much.